Previously on Miss President.
Caroline Nganga and Coletta Kwama, please stand up. Caroline Nganga, today your greatest weakness was in terms of confidence, not even on intellectual issues. And for that, at this level of the competition, we are sorry to let you go home. Zani and Anne Waruguru. Zani, what you are asked today is very direct in terms of the kind of film that you are doing. But you are asked such a question and you are not able to give us tangible evidence. For that, we will allow you to leave the academy, but we are very proud of you for this far you have come. The next team we have is Emily Mwangi and Bright Star Kasioka. Emily, we will have to let you go home. You have got a very good style of leadership. You listen and you also share. And that's one thing we like about you, despite the fact that today you didn't share what you knew on the table. And next is Nancy Nzisa and Caroline Chege. Nancy Nzisa, you are doing something very noble within your community. However, today you forgot that foundation that brought you into the academy. For that reason, we will let you leave the academy. Caroline, your journey in the house started at a very high note. You have this one more chance to go back to the Caroline we saw during the auditions and make her better. For that, we'll leave you in the academy.
And now, a quick look at the parties before elimination. Remember, somebody from each party will be going home tonight. Only 20 contestants left in the academy. Each one of them has exhibited great teamwork, confidence, and excellent delivery of tasks at the academy. Is this good enough? Or are the judges and you at home expecting more from them? The bigger question, however, is this: are we as a country ready for a female president? The top contestants' understanding, capability, and strength of character will be tested as they continue on this path. Over 1,000 applications were received from all over Kenya, and from these, 70 contestants were shortlisted. After a series of auditions, 40 women were selected and they are battling it out at the academy, where they are going through a process of training, tasks, challenges, problem-solving activities, presentations and eliminations to eventually be elected Miss President. The candidates are divided into 4 groups, as leadership doesn't work in a vacuum. Leaders are required to work with people from all walks of life. While working within these groups, the contestants will be tested on their ability to lead or work as a team. You can be sure that at every stage of this competition, you will be at the edge of your seat as these capable women try to convince the judges and you at home why they should make it to the next stage of the competition. Here are the counties that are represented by the remaining contestants. Now, let's meet our esteemed judges for this episode.
I'm Dr. Zipporah Okoth. I'm a lecturer of film and theatre arts at Kenyatta University. I'm also the founder of the Lake International Pan-African Film Festival. I'm a gender consultant and a performing artist. I'm looking for people who are informed, presentable, firm, and have a purpose.
Hi, I'm Jerry Kirene. I work in the policy environment, helping various small groups lobby for better laws for business. I'm a tough judge. I'm no nonsense. The minute you come before me, you better know your stuff. If you don't, well, you can only expect a challenge.
I am Harrison Manga, your judge for today. I work at Media Focus on Africa, where I am programs manager. My area of expertise is in gender mainstreaming. When I look at the contestants that come before us, I am looking for knowledge, I'm looking for coherence, I'm looking for passion, I'm looking for personality.
In today's episode, the contestants will be trained on public financial management. What is prudent financial management? What should leaders take into account when handling public funds? What is public financial management cycle? Dr. Lilian Ollows is a financial management specialist and author of the book One Day in August, A Chart on Personal Finances. Today, she'll be breaking down public financial management and educating their excellencies at the Academy on how they can influence public financial management as stipulated in the Kenya Constitution, Chapter 12.
So what comes to mind when you hear public financial management?
What comes to my mind is about the prudent use of resources and all the processes like budgeting, auditing, monitoring and evaluation.
Financial management also includes the process of budgeting and pegs it on a period of time, like a fiscal year. So for our country, that is from July to June.
It has something to do with revenue collections. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about mobilization, then you're referring to revenue, different streams of revenue collections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Financial management. How would you define financial management? What is management? Keeping in check. So one of the processes of management.
It is also taking care of.
It also has the aspect of planning.
Yeah.
Let me put that definition out there. It's really just planning, organizing, controlling, and monitoring. What is public financial management?
Public financial management, just like we said, financial management.
Yes.
Now, this is the process of planning, organizing, controlling, and monitoring public finance resources.
Exactly. I plan to purchase ABC. Where will I get the money? I plan to travel to this place. That's a plan, isn't it? So where will I get the money? Organizing the resources. How do I put in measures to check, control? Then monitoring. Have I been able, if I've said I'm going to put aside 10,000 at the end of this month to that cause, have I been able to? So planning. What is this planning process?
So planning in financial management means looking at the finances that we have, the resources that we have, that is, budgeting for these resources, and this means therefore coming up with the goals that we want to achieve and coming up with the issues that we want to address using the finances that we have.
The planning stage or process is what do you want to achieve and by when? Because you could plan to do something or achieve something 5 years from now, but you can only be able to do that if you break it down into, say, yearly, then break it down to quarterly or monthly. So where are we getting this money from? And when we get the money, where are we going to use it? Allocation, organizing, okay? Then lastly, we have said control and monitoring. So control, the monitoring usually is the audit, coming to check, were things done as they should have been done? So let's see how that relates to what we have here, our guideline, which is Chapter 12 of the Constitution that talks about public financial management. Chapter 12, just in summary, has 7 parts. Starts with the principles and framework of public finance. In summary, what are these principles? Because when you're making these decisions, it is assumed that you're working within that framework, within those principles, within those guidelines. That is how you're going to make decisions. If these are strictly adhered to or followed, then we are saying we can have or alter, we can be able to alter policy formulation if these are strictly followed or adhered to, and actually change the management of public resources for the better in future. So the first principle, openness, accountability, and public participation. Second one, promotion of equity, meaning that the tax burden is shared both at national and county levels. Then public expenditure that promotes equitable development and addresses marginalized areas and groups. Equitable sharing of debt benefits and burden between current and future generations. We are going to demystify this. Prudent and responsible use of public resources. What 3 words can you just use to give us those guidelines?
Thank you. I would say equity in allocation and expenditure of the funds.
Accountability.
Accountability. What does it mean to be accountable? Your Excellencies.
Openness, transparency.
Openness is the transparency, yes? Yes, you're not hiding anything. Yes. The common thread you see about these principles, equity. Public expenditure that promotes equitable development and addresses marginalized areas and groups. Because what was happening before? Because this appears in this new constitution. What was happening before? Why do we need this as a principle? Were we not addressing the marginalized areas and groups?
These groups called marginalized or minority are people who are living in marginal areas. And in terms of development, they are very far away from what other communities have achieved. So that is why they are making, the government through the implementation of the constitution, are making deliberate efforts through affirmative actions to be able to bring them up or develop them to be able to reach the level in which the other Kenyans are at the moment of implementation of the constitution.
So that we are equal.
So that we are all equal.
The common threads here are the equity, accountability. Accountability. Are you responsible? Openness, transparency. Whenever there is an issue running, we say, oh, we need to know what this person has. What are their assets? Where did they use those funds? The openness, the transparency, and public participation. These are all provided for there. So the question to ask is, how can we participate? And that is there. The thing is to actually participate. We are saying the government borrows today for a particular purpose. But we are saying the current generation will enjoy that purpose and will pay for that loan, isn't it? Yes. And future generations as well will also pay for that loan, say assume it's long term, if it was 20 years, 15, 30, okay, because you have long-term bonds. They'll also pay for that loan, but they're also enjoying the benefits, the purpose for which the monies were used for. So you want to ensure it's equitable, so that it's not them who are paying for what we are enjoying.
My question was, there is a lot of equity written and equitable.
Yes.
So when it comes to gender, in the decision-making tables, are women sat at the top of the table for them to not be just theoretic, equitable, but truly equitable?
I think it goes back to public participation, involving the voices of women at the very ward level in terms of getting their voices heard. Just agreeing with Honorable Carol, the problem becomes when you want to do things and you want to ensure that everyone is included, but you have not heard the voices of the women or the groups that are vulnerable from the beginning. So now that presents a problem in then getting their inputs heard in terms of the planning and even the budgeting.
When it comes to public participation, where women have an opportunity to air what they think is not working because of there is lack of public participation preparedness. So they go there, and a lot of times you'll find the male voices drowning the room. So it means they go away without their voices heard.
Most people, not only women, most people don't know. And the few who know will be there participating. And those will be taken as the voices of the greater community they come from, where that may not be the case. I'm sure if you did a research, a large percentage is because they do not know that they can actually participate. Then the question is, once they know, is then the how can we participate? Then if the how is not working for them, how can we change this so that our voice is heard? Because there are several forums for participation. So since Janet has requested for one last word in there, one last one.
I just want to appreciate the issue of equitable development.
Yes.
For sure, there's a slogan from Turkana County whereby you say, I come from Turkana, naenda Kenya. because we were, for 50 years we had been marginalized. But we want to appreciate that devolution is real, and this issue of the new constitution has really done us good. And as Turkanas, it will be another London soon. We'll not be saying we are from Turkana going to Kenya. Equitable development.
From Turkana. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you very much for listening.
Over 1,000 applications were received from all over Kenya, and from these, 70 contestants were shortlisted. After a series of auditions, 40 women were selected, and they are battling it out at the academy, where they are going through a process of training, tasks, challenges, problem-solving activities, presentations, and eliminations to eventually be elected Miss President. The candidates are divided into 4 groups, as leadership doesn't work in a vacuum. Leaders are required to work with people from all walks of life. While working within these groups, the contestants will be tested on their ability to lead or work as a team. You can be sure that at every stage of this competition, you will be at the edge of your seat as these capable women try to convince the judges and you at home why they should make it to the next stage of the competition. Here are the counties that are represented by the remaining contestants. And now, a quick look at the parties before elimination. Remember, somebody from each party will be going home tonight. From today's class, we now know that public financial management is a process of planning, organizing, controlling, and monitoring public finance resources. These are the principles and framework of public finance as outlined in our Kenyan Constitution. Openness and accountability, promote an equitable society, equitable sharing of debt benefits and burdens between present and future generations, public money shall be used in a prudent and responsible way, and financial management shall be responsible and fiscal reporting shall be clear. Greetings, Your Excellencies. Welcome back. So I want to call back Mwalimu and the judges to come and then give the task. So judges, Mwalimu, tupige makofi tafadhali as they come in. I hand over to you now, Muriithi.
So the assignment is that every group is expected to establish a public finance management standing committee to provide strategic guidance on public finance management matters to the government. So you have a number of events there. There are 7 events. And your task is that you have a budget of 1.5 billion shillings. Distribute the funds in a way that promotes public financial management.
Given the amount of money that is available at our disposal, we are not saying that we are paying all these things.
Whether we will take it to the county or we will do it at the national level, it's about what needs to be done as a matter of fact.
Teachers in Nairobi are striking, that's counting?
All the national things.
As in debt, teachers football conference is 1.8 billion.
I think we need to know what kind of a problem or where the issue is.
We can already pick out elements of what Mwalimu wants us to find.
The parties have finished their discussions and are ready to present. One party has decided to have 3 spokespersons present, while the other 3 have chosen 1 representative each.
The money we give them, they should account to us. How come they say
The principle that guided us in allocation of the funds for this task was the principle of prudence. Prudence in management of the finances of the public. We were told that nurses were striking because there were issues of corruption, and so we decided we were not going to allocate them any funds. Instead, we were going to interrogate that issue. The government debt, we decided we were going to facilitate it fully, considering the fact that we had only 1 month that and the debt was going to be due. Education, we decided on a negotiation process with the teachers, and so we gave them 250 million instead of the 500 million that they required. The national team, we decided to facilitate them with 100 million shillings as they required. The flooded manhole, we decided to give half the amount, considering it was a procurement process that was going to go on, and so the other funds would be allocated later. And then on food security, we also looked at the issue of variation of budget. We decided that we were going to give them 250 million shillings out of the 300 million they required. And so in total, we were able to allocate the whole 1.5 billion with a deficit of 600 million. And for Muriithi farmers, we said we were going to facilitate the process of bringing them together. And so that was not an issue or a mandate of the national government to actually facilitate in the budget process.
So under Section 7 of the Public Finance Management Act, when it comes to matters of national planning and budgetary allocations, is actually handled by the National Assembly. And then Section 8 provides for the Senate to discuss matters touching on the planning matters county government. Our actual allocation will then be as follows: 300 million on national debt, 400 million for the nurses, 200 million for the teachers, 100 million for the infrastructure, 100 million for the national football team, 100 million for the Muriithi farmers, and 50 million for the conference. Our total allocations was therefore as follows: the county government 500 million, national government 750 million, and because we are excellent financial strategists, we wanted to have a reserve of 100 million Kenya shillings.
Our first priority that we looked into was teachers, and for our allocation, we decided to allocate 500 million shillings. Our second priority was the nurses. We found out that some of the supplies were missing, so we did allocate some half amount, but also we wanted also to investigate and know how the supplies were missing. We wanted to allocate 300 million shillings, that is a half of what was supposed to be allocated, to be able to solve the debt that we were supposed to pay. We could not also discriminate the footballers from giving them this money because they are also an image to our country. For them, we would give them the 100 million shillings. And the other party that we also felt that would also include in allocating money was the Muriithi farmers. We would allocate 300 million shillings. For the infrastructure, we decided to allocate 300 million shillings. We wouldn't know if this road was a county road or a national road. The officials who were supposed to attend a international conference, we did not allocate money to them, but we would allocate it to them next year, with the reason being we feel at the moment right now it was not a priority.
We formed a studying committee to look into the best way to allocate the resources that we had, given that we had 1.5 billion to allocate to different tasks.
The football team identified poor planning that was evident in the unpaid allowances, and then the nurses' strike in Mandera County. The issue is also on poor control. Food security is also poor planning by the committees in charge of the conference. The teachers' strike is also on poor planning. Muriithi farmers' findings and to identify what exactly happened. The flooded roads, the problem is to be solved by the government, and the funds will come from the government. And the debt, we also introduced the aspect of negotiations with the leaders.
On the football team, we decided to allocate 100 million to it. On the nurses' strike, we come to the conclusion that allocation had been done, yes, but there was misuse of funds. We allocated 6 million. On food security conference, so we decided to plan and ask them to wait for the supplementary budget. On teachers' strike, we sat and renegotiated again. That is it possible that we can pay you in 5 phases? They agreed. And therefore, in the first phase, we gave them 150 million, and the rest will run concurrently. On Mira farmers, it is neither here nor there. This is an agreement they got to without us as the government. So we asked them to seek redress legally. So we did not allocate any funds. On the flooded roads, the money that they had requested for was not the real picture, and therefore we allocated 250 million for the repair. On government debt, we sat on the table and renegotiated with the lenders again, and we agreed to pay it in 3 phases, which will be 200 million per phase. We spent 650 million and saved 850 million.
Before we go into elimination, the contestants get an opportunity to elect new presidents within their groups. The new presidents are supposed to ensure there is cohesion within the groups, and any conflicts arising are immediately and effectively resolved. These are the presidents elected by their parties for this episode.
Okay, so it is now nomination time. So you have 5 minutes to think about who you're going to nominate.
Everything that we try to just bring to the table that was different could not be taken. You cannot have monopoly over information and how we deliver.
She's really trying, but at this juncture, she needs more time to grow into this.
She misses out on actually listening to another person's idea and kind of infusing it in a project.
I think she has a communication problem, so she tries to say something but in a rough way.
She does not have proper listening skills as a leader.
She actually did not deliver content as we had agreed.
If I was president, I would look for somebody who is strategic in terms of thinking and not at operational level.
The contestants have finished the nominations in the PR. Who did they nominate? Who will the judges pick? Who will go home? Let's hear what the judges have to say before we move on to elimination.
Judges are back because that's a prelude to the elimination process. Judge Kerine, it's good to see you. Judge Harrison, Judge Dr. Zippy. Anything that you notice in the tasks today?
One thing I loved so much about today is there's a group of them that really came out strongly and they argued out their points when they on the assignment that they were given, especially on budgets and financing. I think they gave us credible reasons on how they distributed the budget, and I think that was quite commendable. And in their articulation of their points, I think today we are having leaders.
Harrison?
Today, the application of the lesson was much better. There was quite a lot of, debate going on, and everyone was, putting their best feet forward in terms of advancing an argument. The cream is actually, coming to the top. You don't have to cajole it anymore. It's
Judge Kerine, are they still hiding in groups, would you say?
I don't think they're hiding in groups anymore, but I tend to feel some of the groups, some did very well. But there were some that went ahead and decided to save on their budget. But again, I think that has to do a lot with even just our conditioning as a society, and also the people are taught in schools not to take risks. So I see that still happening. But I think as we go ahead with the assignments, now I would like to see individuals, we'd all like to see individuals.
I want to end with you, Judge Kerine. Are we looking for new type of leaders, or are we looking for women who can fight it out anywhere?
Leadership is a calling. And it requires a lot of sacrifice. And it also requires that you take risks and extend yourself.
How badly do these contestants want to become Miss President? Well, let's find out.
Over 1,000 applications were received from all over Kenya, and from these, 70 contestants were shortlisted. After a series of auditions, 40 women were selected, and they are battling it out at the academy, where they are going through a process of training, tasks, challenges, problem-solving activities, presentations, and eliminations to eventually be elected Miss President. The candidates are divided into 4 groups, as leadership doesn't work in a vacuum. Leaders are required to work with people from all walks of life. While working within these groups, the contestants will be tested on their ability to lead or work as a team. You can be sure that at every stage of this competition, you will be at the edge of your seat as these capable women try to convince the judges and you at home why they should make it to the next stage of the competition. Here are the counties that are represented by the remaining contestants. And now, a quick look at the parties before elimination. Remember, somebody from each party will be going home tonight. We have come to that moment when 4 people will be going home. Who will stay? Who will be on probation? And who is going home?
My viewer on TV, the fate of the 20 is in the hands of these 3 judges, so I hand them over.
Hello, Your Excellencies. Before we proceed, I'd like to request all those who are on probation to stand up. We officially release you from your probation. As we proceed to the next level, I'd just like to encourage us once again that at this part of the competition, at this level, you are all great leaders.
Hello, ladies. So I shall proceed to call those who will come and sit at the front. And I'll begin with Lynette Mavu. Please come forward. Irene Mayaka, please come forward. Jane Apitet, please come forward. Followed by Jacqueline Waweru. Coletta Kwana, please come forward. Followed by Betty Adera. Jacqueline Mungumi, please come forward. And finally, Caroline Ogot, please come forward. And I'll start with you, Coletta. Please come forward. Seeing that you were the one who was chosen to present on behalf of your group, I didn't feel that you really captured us. So how else do you think you could have done that so that you could have persuaded and convinced us that you knew what you were talking about?
I think I was the only presenter who referred to the Public Finance Management Act, which was really instrumental in helping us clearly map out where the authority of the Senate coming in to appoint its representatives in this task to bring out county issues and county allocation of funds, and then also referring specifically to the National Assembly and looking at the national level of allocation of funds. So I think to that structure, I went as legal as I would have gone, and I think I came out pretty clear on that.
Obama is praised for being a good orator, and he's got a quality which most leaders require in order for them to convince the electorate, which is charisma. And that's what I was hoping to hear from you, that perhaps you could have delivered it with a little bit more charisma. So even if we didn't understand legalese, but we felt convinced that you had a thorough grasp of your concept and that you really did want us to receive the message. Betty, one of the things I observe, or we do observe as the judges, is just the group dynamics. How do people interact within the group? What happens in your group when somebody interrupts you? How do you handle that situation?
When somebody interrupts me and I was already with the mic talking, I would refer back to the chair or the president of that particular group and ask that, can I be allowed to complete?
Did you feel you've demonstrated a lot of flexibility in your discussions?
I feel I have.
It's just yes or no?
Yes.
have a seat.
Jane Appetit, could you please step forward? We all know that we've found some oil in Turkana, right? The community from where we are getting this oil are up in arms. They want to get half of the revenue from that oil.
Yes.
So let's assume they get it. This 50%, if you're advising them, what would they spend this money on?
So the first agenda as a president that I would wish to encourage people, the community, to embrace education so that all of us can be at the same level with other counties or with our neighbors. And the second agenda is about health, because you find women giving birth in the bush. Now that we have water in Turkana County, we'll use the funds received to ensure that we employ or we do farming using seeds that are drought resistant, so that we may have food for the Turkana community.
Okay. Let me call Jacqueline Waweru, please. Come forward. There's a high rate of teen pregnancy happening in Kilifi. I'm just wondering, from where you stand, is this a problem of teen pregnancy a public finance management problem?
For starters, Harrison, I would say yes. As young people in Kilifi, we had already seen teenage pregnancy as an issue. And we've been trying really to fight for a specific budget in terms of family planning, because already there are young people who are already having sex. As young people, we now started working on a policy known as Adolescent and Young People Strategy Paper on SRHR and HIV, where we would have programs and also now involve also our parents, because another concern that we found out in some of the parents cannot communicate well with their kids on sexual reproductive health issues.
Thank you. And I agree completely.
Yes.
But remember, my focus is narrow.
Yes.
Is it a public finance problem?
Yes, it is an issue. If you do not allocate money for adolescent programming, that is a very big concern.
Jacqueline Mungumi, please come forward. Were you the chair of the group?
Yes.
So whose decision was it to save on over 50% of the money allocated?
It was the decision of the group.
Who specifically?
Waruguru went for saving. They said it's important to save. I know Dr. Elizabeth and actually the rest, they bought the idea it's good to save. But I remember saying, as a government, if you don't utilize the funds, they go back to the exchequer.
And so why did you agree?
Democracy.
Democracy. Caroline Ogot, come forward. I have just grilled your colleague on the decision to save over 50% of your budget.
Yes.
When we provided you an opportunity as a group during the discussion to defend that decision, the first thing you said was it was a slip of the tongue.
Right, I say that.
Leadership is no joke. When it comes to something as serious as how public funds are spent, we cannot afford to dismiss it as a slip of the tongue.
Can I say something towards that?
The final one.
Yes. I would actually take responsibility for that. But I think there is something I can do. As the president, I am a human being and I have weaknesses. And it is better to go before my citizens and tell them the truth. I would use the media and correct it.
Lynette Marvel, please step forward. What would you do to improve not only the collection of revenue, the local one, but also the ability of the local people to influence the priorities that the county government chooses?
So what I would do is to first of all harness the resources that are there, something that I started doing while I was a CEC. We actually mapped up all the wards and were able to know what is in every ward. And so what I would do is first of all to make people aware that actually there's a lot they can do with what they have on the ground, and then be able to harness it to be able to bring them revenue in terms of looking for ways in which we can be able to turn them into an economy.
Let me have Irene Mayaka step forward. Drawing on the lessons we've had for today's episode, what would be some of the quick ideas you'd give the county of Nyamira in terms of improving revenue collection?
80% of our economy, income comes from agricultural produce. And one of the things that I'd like to do is there is a fruit in our county that is very common. It actually grows like a wild fruit, and that is the avocado fruit. So mine would be on value addition of the avocado fruit. So what I would want to quickly do is to have a motion in the county assembly on value addition of the avocado fruit, and a motion because it is faster to process a motion into implementing it into an actual action than you would a bill, so that this particular motion is linked to a policy that would, one, ensure that our farmers are able to export the fruit outside the country, and also sell to other local farms like Kakuzi, who then buy this in large scale.
I'll go direct to those who are living for home. I'll start with Collector Akwana and Betedera. Please stand up. After much deliberation, we are glad to say you're both staying in the house. You can go have your seat. Jenna Petet and Jacqueline Waweru. Jacqueline, we found that you had a lot of information and you affirmed everything you said. Jane, the last time you were here was because you were not focusing on the question. And today the same thing happened. You still were not focusing on the question that you were asked. And for that reason, Jane, we will let you leave the academy. But we are very proud of the person you have become. Jacqueline Waweru, because of your strong character and the way you answered your question, we will allow you another chance in the academy. Connie Mungumbi and Carol Logot. Connie, as a leader, it is important for you to take responsibility of everything your group decides. You know how much, how wrong it feels when you feel exposed because of the opinions you gave within the people you trusted within a group. Caroline Ogot, we were not very excited for you to say it is a slip of the tongue. We felt for a leader that is not right, and for that reason, you will leave the academy. However, we are very proud to have had you in the house, and we are very glad for that. Thank you so much. Connie, you have another chance in the academy. And now to Lynette Mavo and Irene Mayaka. Now, I do not know what to expect. Whether we will have the Lynette and the Irene we saw during the auditions, or whether your character is still going to get into a lower character or a weaker character. What we saw is not what we are seeing right now. We will give you another chance, both of you in the house. And if we don't see an improvement, then we will have no choice. Thank you. You are fewer, and our search for the ultimate Miss President goes on. There's no time to sit back. This is no longer a group competition. Each person must fight for the top seat, and let that be your battle. Know that you are friends, but even friends compete and support. So know how much you can support and how far you must compete, okay? Thank you so much.
I count it a privilege and an honor to have reached this point, and I appreciate it was tough, but good.
I'm not convinced. One reason I don't believe I'm weak. But one thing, somebody has to go home. As a leader, you must accept responsibility. You're human.
I felt I have been doing my best. But maybe they probably have high expectations of me because she mentioned my audition. So I feel she expects more.
Those are valuable, actually, feedback that I know that as a leader, I will not need to have any room, for those kinds of errors. So it's something that I'm going to commit to work on going forward.
When she said we were both in, it was shocking.
I've been staying and I've not been knowing what do people say about me. Even Jesus himself at one point he asked his disciples, what do people say about me? Who do they say I am? So I think for me today was that day.
Yeah, I knew I have an issue of just focusing and going straight to the point, a bit around the bush. So I feel it is fair.
I thought I was going from the feedback I got from the judges. So it was a shock when they said that I still remain in the academy.
After a busy and highly charged day at the academy, it's time to take a breather. Nothing worth having comes easy. It is said, na Kiswahili tunasema mtakacha mvunguni sharti ainame. This is the story of the contestants who are still at the academy as they continue with this grueling journey to the top. I can only imagine how much harder each individual needs to work because all the ladies proceeding to the next stage clearly mean business. They are all equally capable to be Miss President, and I'm excited, just as you are, to find out ni nani anachukua hii kitu. Skiza, you have any thoughts, opinions, comments, bets? At media_focus into your Twitter handle, at Media Focus on Africa, Facebook, at Media Focus on Africa, Instagram. Wise words from Maya Angelou. Nothing will work unless you do. Don't miss out on the next episode of Miss President, where another fascinating topic will be tackled, followed by tasks to test the skills of the contestants.